Hello, Gentle Explainer here. Today I am going to gently explain a comedy romance movie called I Run to You. At the beginning of the story, we meet a spoiled rich man named Gianni who is obsessed with women day and night. He has no shortage of money, just a voracious appetite. He says hello to someone in the morning, takes someone out for a walk in the afternoon, and at night, he then seduces a third woman into a love affair and shares passionate moments with her. Then, sitting in a club, he recounts these romantic stories to his friends. As if he's just won a trophy, he proudly declares, "Give me any girl. I can woo her and take her to my room in a jiffy." Then, one of his friends, Fabio, jokingly says, "You're about to turn 50. Leave the vagrant crowd and find a mature, serious woman and marry her." Gianni replies, "Don't worry about that. If you want, I can even flirt with your wife." And these words reveal to us how much of a pervert he is. This carelessness is even more evident when his mother dies and he arrives late at her funeral. His twin brother Carlo, who lived with his mother, knew everything about Gianni's actions. He tells him to at least pray for his mother, but he shows no interest in honoring her memory. Carlo gives up and gives him the keys to his mother's house, telling him to take out all his belongings from her house. Gianni then arrives at his mother's house and sits in her wheelchair, looking at some old photographs. Then, he turns on his mother's radio and starts listening to music at high volume. Meanwhile, hearing the radio, a girl named Alessia, who lives in the neighborhood, comes over and, seeing Gianni in a wheelchair, assumes he's disabled. Gianni is a little surprised to see her, but Alessia says, "I live in the neighborhood and came to see him after hearing the radio. By the way, I work to help people like you who are physically disabled." Gianni understands that she thinks he's disabled, but Alessia is so beautiful that Gianni immediately starts acting. To gain her sympathy, he says, "My mother passed away, and I miss her a lot. That's why I come here sometimes to remember her." Seeing his calm demeanor, Alessia's sympathy grows for him, and she says, "I live nearby. If you ever need any help, just ring the doorbell." But deep down, Gianni is a total pervert. He talks to Alessia with a calm, gentle tone, but his eyes are a little too mischievous. As soon as she leaves, Gianni reveals his true nature and is overjoyed that Alessia is incredibly beautiful and has a new opportunity. Even though Gianni's character is loose, he had a huge business. He owned a successful shoe company called High Speed, but his carelessness and overconfidence are evident even in the office. During a corporate meeting, Julia, an intern at the company, suggests that they should design shoes for the disabled, saying it will open up a new market. But Gianni doesn't like this innovation. A subordinate giving him an idea hurts his ego, and in a fit of rage, he fires Julia immediately. Gianni's true passion was to develop a close relationship with a new girl. He then returns to his mother's house, pretending to be disabled, and meets Alessia, saying, "I'm home alone, so it would be nice to spend some time talking over coffee or wine." Alessia agrees, and Gianni has to make the coffee, but he has to work hard, continuing the wheelchair drama. Alessia sees him and comes to help, but Gianni continues his act to maintain the illusion. Then, during the conversation, he reveals that he's unmarried and looking for a life partner. Alessia says that she helps people with disabilities, but prefers dating a successful man and is cautious about long-term commitment. Now Gianni understands that his drama can only win him Alessia's sympathy, not love. He immediately reveals his identity, saying, "I'm the owner of a high-speed company with numerous branches." Hearing this, Alessia says, "It would be great if you came to our farmhouse in the village on Sunday. My entire family lives there, and you'd be delighted to meet them." Gianni immediately agrees, and on Sunday, he goes to the place Alessia has mentioned. As they approach the house, Alessia's dog comes and ruins all her flowers. But Alessia arrives just in time and takes the dog away. She then takes him to her family. There, Alessia introduces him to her grandmother, who herself is breathing with the help of an oxygen tank. Then, a little while later, a girl named Chiara arrives, and upon seeing her, Gianni is overjoyed. He feels like he's hit a double jackpot today. But the next moment, when Chiara gets out of her wheelchair and enters the house, his mood is ruined. Actually, Alessia had invited him not for herself, but to introduce him to her sister, Chiara. Now, poor Gianni, trapped in his own trap, can't even get up and leave, so he's forced to continue acting. After everyone has dinner together, Chiara tells Gianni about herself. She's a musician, plays the violin, and also plays wheelchair tennis. Gianni listens, but his mind is elsewhere, preoccupied with the trouble he's gotten himself into. Then, Gianni goes to the club and tells his friends the whole story. Their friends laugh. "You think you're the king of flirting? If you can woo this wheelchair-bound woman, then they'll believe you're truly an expert." Now, Gianni's ego is hurt, and he bets, "Okay, I'll woo her and send you all a photo." Meanwhile, Alessia goes to Gianni's mother's house and meets his brother, Carlo, and tells him, "Your brother is a very nice person. Even though he's disabled, he helps people so much." Carlo knew Gianni was always acting out a new drama, so he didn't tell Alessia the truth. Then, a few days later, when Chiara suddenly arrives at Gianni's office, Gianni immediately has to start the wheelchair drama. Chiara, unsure, says, "I have a tennis match today. I would have been so happy if you had come to watch." Gianni agrees and arrives in his wheelchair. The match begins, and for the first time, Gianni develops some respect for Chiara. He is struck by the thought that this girl is truly amazing. But he also remembers that he has to win a previous bet he made with his friends. A few days later, Gianni travels to another city in Italy. A big music concert begins there, where Chiara is playing the violin with her group. The auditorium is packed with people, and as soon as the performance ends, everyone erupts in applause and praise. After the concert, Gianni takes Chiara to dinner at a restaurant. He considers telling Chiara the truth, but is also afraid that if he reveals the truth, she might leave him. So he remains silent for the time being. During dinner, Gianni finds himself struggling to manage his wheelchair properly. This makes Chiara a little suspicious, but then she convinces herself that she has begun to really like him. He began to believe that Alessia had introduced him to a perfect life partner. Then, after dinner, when they arrived outside the hotel, Gianni smiled and asked, "Can we have one last drink in your room?" Chiara thought for a moment and agreed. Once in the room, they talked, grew closer, and ended up kissing. Chiara felt true love in her heart. But for Gianni, everything was just a condition. And when he tried to take it further, Chiara stopped him, saying he had to wake up early tomorrow morning. Gianni's plan failed, and he said, "Okay," and left. We then see the next day, where Gianni still refuses to give up his old habits. He doesn't hesitate to flirt with another girl whenever he gets the chance. Meanwhile, Chiara, who had accepted the relationship as true, happily thanks her sister Alessia, saying, "You have introduced me to a true partner, and Gianni is a wonderful person." The next day, Gianni calls and invites Chiara to dinner at his mansion. Chiara arrives delighted, wearing a beautiful dress, and her eyes light up with joy at the sight of the house's interior and luxurious lifestyle. During dinner, she recounts her past, saying, "When I was 16, I was in a car accident that left both my legs paralyzed. But my violin, which was in the car seat, was perfectly fine. Then, I felt it was a sign from God that I had to do something big in life. And from then on, I decided to make violin my passion." Gianni listens quietly and realizes that Chiara is completely innocent and her love is true. But the devil within him is still alive, and he was playing the game solely to win his bet. By now, his plan had been successful, and Chiara had completely fallen under his spell. Now, Gianni had set up a system in his room that, upon pressing a remote button, would fill the entire room with water, transforming it into a swimming pool in no time. As they swam, they slowly drew closer, their lips meeting, and Gianni succeeded in his mission. This wasn't a new experience for him, but for Chiara, it was a real feeling. A little later, when he got the chance, Gianni took a romantic picture with Chiara and immediately sent it to his friends. Then we see the club scene where Gianni once again proves himself a flirting expert in front of his friends, feeling proud as if he'd won the World Cup. From then on, he even stopped talking to Chiara because he had gotten what he wanted. Now, he turns his attention to his friend Fabio's wife, Ragazza, and seduces her. But one day, when Ragazza accidentally breaks a wine glass, Gianni, enraged, tells her to leave the house. Now, he's back to his ways, but deep down, he realizes he's betrayed a true heart by lying. One day, he calls Chiara and says, "I need to meet and talk to you." Chiara, acting completely normal, invites him to her house. Upon arriving, Chiara smiles at him and begins playing a sweet tune on her violin. Gianni stares at her, feeling a pang of guilt. He's determined to tell the truth this time, that he's not disabled. But he fears that Chiara might leave him forever. Now, Chiara has accepted him as her life partner and even kisses him lovingly. Gianni's heart has also begun to lean towards her, but his lie won't last long. And so one day, Gianni's brother Carlo goes to Alessia's house with a bouquet in his hand and tells her the whole truth about his brother. Hearing this, Alessia, enraged, rushes to Gianni and slaps him hard, saying, "I've never met a more worthless man than you. I know everything about you. Now you'll go and apologize to my sister." With this, she angrily leaves. Gianni tries to explain, "I'm really in love with Chiara, but I'm afraid to tell her the truth, fearing she might walk away from me forever." Alessia says, "If that's the case, then you should go and talk to her yourself. But for what you did, remember that it's not my sister who's handicapped, but you and your vile character." With this, she leaves, leaving Gianni heartbroken. He realizes he didn't do the right thing by playing a false game with true love. The story takes a new turn from here. Gianni reaches his father. Surprisingly, his father was once just like Gianni. Gianni's father, too, was a master of flirting with women all his life. And that habit ruined him so much that he eventually left his own wife alone. But when Gianni tells him his problem, his father, in a very serious tone, says, "The biggest mistake of my life was leaving your mother. If you ever find true love, never lose her, because true love isn't everyone's destiny." Just then, an announcement comes out about a special tour to the city's Catholic Church, where holy water cures many people's disabilities. Hearing this, Gianni gets an idea. He'll go to the same church, and Chiara will believe that everything was fixed by the miracle of holy water. He then calls Chiara and asks, "Will you come with me tomorrow to a church where many disabled people are attending?" Chiara says yes without thinking, but Alessia tries to stop her, saying, "That man isn't right for you." But Chiara says, "I knew from the beginning that Gianni wasn't disabled, but I sensed a truth within him, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm sure he'll change himself one day, realizing he's my true love." Alessia asks, "What would you do if one day he told you the truth?" Chiara replies, "That day, I'll say goodbye to him forever." Then, they see the next day's scene, where the bus journey begins, and many disabled people join it. Everyone has the same hope that once they get there, their problems will go away. Gianni watches and realizes that by acting disabled, he's playing with so many people's emotions. Then, when everyone reaches the church, the priest looks intently at Gianni and, for some unknown reason, invites him inside. As they enter, the priest says, "Miracles only happen here when God himself wills it. As a father, obey me and leave in the same wheelchair without getting up, so as not to hurt people's faith." Gianni does the same and quietly leaves. But fate has something else in store. A short while later, Chiara is crossing the street outside the church when suddenly, a truck speeds toward her. Seeing this, Gianni immediately rushes over and saves Chiara. Chiara is astonished. "Wow, a miracle has truly happened to you." But the next moment, tears well up in her eyes, because now it's revealed that every single one of Gianni's stories was a lie. Heartbroken, she boards a bus and leaves with the others, while Gianni watches like a guilty man. He somehow returns, but his life begins to fall apart after this. His friend Fabio is furious with him because he learned the truth. Gianni had also been manipulative toward his wife, and his other friends are also very angry with him. Now Gianni is completely alone, and perhaps during this time, his humanity was returning. He visits his mother's grave and expresses his heartbreak, deeply saddened. Then he goes to the office and tells his assistant to bring back an intern named Julia, who wanted to make shoes for the specially abled. He then appoints Julia as the company's product manager and launches special shoes for the physically handicapped. After this, hoping for forgiveness, he goes to Chiara, who was still on the miracle tour by bus. He boards the bus and begins to apologize to Chiara, but Chiara replies, "Whether you call me handicapped or sick, it doesn't matter to me. I am enough for myself, and I don't need a fake person like you in my life." Hearing this, Gianni quietly walks away because everything was over. He had begun to hate himself, and thoughts of Chiara haunted him all the time. Then one day, while jogging, he suddenly collapses, exhausted, and gasps for breath. Chiara appears before him, smiling and extending her hand to help him up. In that moment, Gianni understands how important it is to experience true love and emotions in life, and this was a test for him, allowing him to feel like a true human being. Now, Gianni and Chiara become perfect and true partners for each other because true love transformed a selfish man into a righteous person. At the end of the story, we see Gianni and Chiara about to get married, and Gianni, overjoyed, lifts Chiara into his arms, and starts dancing. The story ends with this scene. I hope you liked this movie explain video. If you want to see more similar movie explain videos, then you can watch this video by clicking here. Now I go and see you in the next video.